Sex work in Thailand is probably one of the most talked about and one of the most misunderstood industries in the world. Now, depending on who you ask, you'll hear completely different stories. Some people will tell you it's exploitation and others will tell you it's pure opportunity. But the truth is, it's not just one story, it's many. Now, before we dive in, I want to be completely transparent. This industry is incredibly complex, and I am not coming at you from a place of expertise. I am not an expert in this industry. I am learning, and I'm really interested in this topic. So I like to share with you the things that I read, the things that I observe. I am still learning, and honestly, my own opinions on this change almost daily depending on who I talk to and what new information I uncover. Now, if you're wondering who I am, hello, my name's Ali, and on this platform, we have casual conversations about sex, relationships, and other fun stuff. And I am also a sex education student with the Sexual Health Alliance. So I love coming on here and sharing with you all the little nuggets of knowledge I'm learning about bodies, about spice, about sex, about relationships, about culture and sex. I do travel a lot, so I love to explore and learn how sex is viewed and experienced in different parts of the world. I also like to experiment a little bit and try some new things and share those experiences with you. So if you like this kind of content, subscribe, hit the bell thingy, and do all that stuff. All right, let's get back to the industry, shall we? Which, by the way, this is the second video of a 4-part series about sex in Thailand. So I have been spending the last couple of months here, and I have been spending a few months out of the year in Thailand for the last 4 years or so. And the first video I did is more of a general overview of attitudes towards sex and culture in Thailand. So it's a little bit of an intro to the series. If you want to go check it out, you can. But this is the second video where we're going to be talking about the industry and what I've learned about it. So let's get into it and talk about how massive this industry is in Thailand. And to do that, we have to look at the numbers first. So while sex work is technically illegal here, the sex industry is estimated to generate around $6.4 billion annually. That's roughly 2 to 3% of Thailand's entire GDP. And to understand how it got this big, we have to look back, okay, way back. I'm actually right here in Pattaya right now, which is essentially ground zero for how this all started. Back in the 1960s and 70s, during the Vietnam War, the US military personnel began docking on Thailand's shores, specifically here in Pattaya for a little R&R, rest and relaxation, if you know what I mean. So basically, you had thousands of soldiers with money to spend looking for companionship, intersecting with a huge population of deeply impoverished rural families who desperately needed to survive. So basically, that collision of foreign money and local poverty sparked an explosion in the sex tourism industry that shaped the country's economy forever. So yes, the war ended, but the industry thrived on. Now, let's look at the why, okay? Because this is where most people get it wrong, okay? Today, a massive portion of women working in the industry still migrate from rural areas like Isan, which is in the northeastern part of the country, and it hosts 1/3 of Thailand's population and has the highest poverty rate in the country. So for many of them, alternative options are not that great. So you have farming jobs with unstable income or factory and service work with grueling hours and poverty wages. In reality, sometimes those options are often far more dangerous and exploitative than actual sex work. So when people ask, why would someone choose this? The answer is practical. It means more money, more flexibility, and the ability to financially support family back home, which the vast majority of youth in Asia still subscribe to this tradition. So during my time here, I actually sat down with a sex worker here, and she told me she averages around 400 USD a day. That's some good money. Now, that is enough to eventually leave the industry and open up her own business. And in fact, her specific goal is to head to the islands and open a restaurant. And honestly, she's well on her way. I know it's not an ideal path, but for a lot of women, it is a calculated strategy for economic survival and upward mobility. And honestly, these success stories are often not talked about enough because that's what a lot of these women end up doing. They work for a couple years, make good cash, leave the industry, and start a business. And this isn't just a Thailand thing, you know. I've met workers in plenty of other countries with lots more opportunities, better pay, more protection, and still some choose this work, not because they love it. I mean, not everyone loves their job, right? But because financially, it just makes sense. Now, Of course, I am sure in the comments before you even write it, okay, people are gonna go crazy being like, this is trafficking and it's exploitation and blah, blah, blah. And this brings us to a massive misconception because people tend to put all of this into one category, but Thailand actually legally separates the two of them. You have sex work, which is technically illegal under the 1996 Prevention and Suppression of Prostitution Act. But trafficking, however, is a severe crime under the 2008 Anti-Human Trafficking Act. And the absolute key difference comes down to one word, and that is consent. So if someone is forced, coerced, underage, or controlled, that is trafficking. And that is a horrific human rights violation, full stop. I think we can all agree with that, right? Let's agree with that. But if an adult is choosing to sell sex, that is considered prostitution. Both exist, but they are not the same thing. Now, when we blur that line, we harm both groups, okay? And if you don't want to take my word for it, take it from the academics, okay? So a paper in the Anti-Trafficking Review broke down how the criminalization of sex work actively creates danger. And it turns out that making something illegal doesn't actually make it disappear. Shocker. I know, crazy, right? It basically just prevents workers from accessing basic labor and social protections, increasing their vulnerability to exploitation and police harassment. It might not be most people's dream job, but it is a choice made among available options, and criminalization hurts the people that it claims to protect. For example, research from the Empower Foundation, a sex workers' rights organization in Thailand, in 2012, they found that in Thailand, more women in the sex industry have been harmed by anti-trafficking interventions than by traffickers themselves. The problem, a lot of these rescue efforts don't always help. In some cases, they just remove workers from jobs that they chose and limit their freedom instead of improving their conditions. And while trafficking does exist, especially involving minors in all parts of the world, studies in Thailand show it's actually been on the declining over the years. Now, speaking of sex worker rights organizations, there are many communities and NGOs in Thailand that support and advocate for sex workers' rights. And this is what led me to Swing, the service workers in group. So I went to visit them during my time in Bangkok, and wow, this ain't no small operation. What makes them so incredibly effective is that they are built from inside the community. So over 80% of their staff are current or former sex workers, and they have a huge staff. They reach between 20,000 and 30,000 people every single year. They provide HIV and STI testing, education, language classes, and financial literacy. They really treat sex workers as the smart, capable professionals they are. And their office is great. It's super welcoming. When you walk in, you have a clinic on one side where you have access to see a doctor and get all your testing done. You have a pharmacy on the other side. There are so many community initiatives at play in this place. I was very impressed. Also worth noting is that while cisgender women are usually the face of the industry in the media, they aren't the only ones doing the work. So I found a recent study in Frontiers in Sociology, and they highlighted the intense compounded stigma faced by male and trans workers. So even though Thailand is seen as, one of the more progressive countries in Southeast Asia, especially when it comes to LGBTQ+ rights, there are still rigid societal norms, and they often face higher barriers to getting medical help, which is exactly why specialized groups like Sisters and M+ are so crucial, because standard healthcare is great until you realize it wasn't built to include everyone. So big thank you to those organizations that exist to keep this community safe and healthy. Also worth mentioning is that Swing actually works with the police. Since 2007, they run an internship program where police cadets come in and spend time with sex workers. They talk to them, they learn about their lives, their rights, their public health. And because sex work is still illegal here, there's a deep history of tension, raids, and mistreatment. So instead of just blindly enforcing laws, this program shifts the dynamic from punishment to understanding and trying to just bring a little bit more humanity into the system, because, I think we all need a little bit of that. All right, so let's move on and talk about health for a second here, because again, I know people are going to be in the comments and be all screaming STIs and HIV and so on. But before we get all rowdy, okay, Let's listen to what's actually going on. Now, when it comes to health, this network of NGOs and clinics is literally saving lives. So access to safe, non-judgmental healthcare is critical. And honestly, the infrastructure here in Thailand, I feel, is very developed. There are sexual health clinics everywhere, making it incredibly accessible for workers to get regular, affordable testing. And public health in 2026 has evolved way beyond just handing out condoms. So I found a study that was published by the National Institute of Health, and they looked at the rollout of PrEP, the daily pill that prevents HIV, among workers moving between Bangkok and Pattaya. And one of the most fascinating findings was that the venue managers, so the bosses, are often the ones dictating health practices. So apparently they actively educate their staff about HIV prevention and PrEP. Really interesting. So they do care about the sexual health of their workers. And the data proves that the overall outreach works. So Swing does a lot of in-house clinical research. And while I was there, I was reading about some of the clinical research they did from 2021 to 2023. And in just 3 years, the number of people coming in for first-time HIV testing almost doubled, jumping from 1,275 to 2,470. In Pattaya, it surged from 523 to nearly 2,700. That's crazy. And we're not done. While testing went way up, the percentage of positive results went down. So in Bangkok, HIV positively dropped from 8.5 to 7.3%. And in Pattaya, it plummeted from 9.6 down to 2.3%. So that being said, it is definite proof that education and outreach are working. And I want to take a second here to address the tourists watching this. If you are coming to Thailand or traveling anywhere and planning on having casual sex, you need to take responsibility for your own sexual health too. Now, sexual health clinics are widespread, totally discreet, and very affordable. There is zero excuse not to get tested, use protection, and be a responsible participant in this whole ecosystem. In lots of places, you can go get a test without getting a doctor's requisition. You can walk in, you can pay for any kind of testing that you need. I mean, they send you your results through WhatsApp. You could get a consult, a very affordable consult with a doctor if you'd like to. So yeah, there really is no excuse to practice safe sex. Now, what does Thai society think about all of this? And I've had a few interesting conversations with some locals here. And honestly, I was quite surprised because even though sex work is massive and highly visible and fueling a lot of the economy here, you'd think that it's very much accepted among society, but that's actually a myth. Yeah, it's just a really complicated contradiction. And most of the Thai people that I spoke to here, whenever I asked, what do you think about sex work? They all were like, they didn't really know what to say. There's still a heavy stigma there, still judgment, still this underlying cultural sense that it's not a good job. For example, if it's your daughter, it's like, oh no, that's not acceptable. But if it's someone else's daughter, it's like, whatever, So there's still this strange tension, and the industry's everywhere, but the people running it are still very marginalized, unfortunately. And so, the more I learn about this world, the industry in Thailand, or just, sex work in general around the world, the harder it is to see it in black and white. It's not just good or bad. It's not strictly empowered or exploited, but it's a little both. It's people navigating their lives with options that they have in front of them. Some are building an empire for themselves, some are just surviving, and most are somewhere in between, depending on the day. And I think the absolute most important thing we can do is just take the time to understand that. So read, get books. This is actually a really interesting book. This professor, Ronald Weitzer, he did a sociological sex work, observational, qualitative research study about sex work in Thailand. There are other books and articles that you can read, talk to people, travel, watch, observe. If you ever come to Thailand, just grab a soda, one of these places, and just watch. And you'll just see how complex it is. And like me, your ideas and opinions will shift on a daily. And you know what? That's not necessarily a bad thing. So, yes, I'm still learning, and as I learn, I will share with you. But I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Please try and keep it, respectful and educational. I'm not here to stir the pot or anything. I'm really just trying to learn and understand. If you do want to advocate for sex workers' rights, a great way to give back is to check out the Swing website where you can make a donation. And in my next video, which is going to be part 3 of my Thailand series, I want to explore something that I didn't expect. So that is that the idea, even across completely different cultures, we might actually be struggling with the same exact things when it comes to sex. So we're going to talk about sex education in Thailand. We're going to head to the therapy room and see what couples in Thailand are struggling with when it comes to sex and relationships, and also what kind of desires and fantasies are floating around. So thank you so much for watching. And if you enjoy this content, if you want to support a sex positive channel, you can check out my Patreon. You can click on the link below this video where I share a lot of behind the scenes content of the travels, a lot more exclusive content about my sexual education journey. Yeah, if you want to support it, you can click on the link below and you'll be supporting the growth and maintenance of this channel, which I am forever grateful for. So, kapun ka, thank you very much. That's thank you in Thai, by the way. Kapun ka. Bye bye. Je vous aime.